What's up and welcome to the DualSense podcast for episode 137. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason. I'm joined as always by your other co-host, who is appropriately calling himself Bill Paxton this evening. Travis, how are you? Are you surviving the windstorm?
Oh yeah, I didn't. I couldn't remember if it was Paxton or Pullman, so I'm glad I got the right one.
I always remember Pullman because he was in Casper, you know.
I mean, yeah, that would help a normal person. That doesn't necessarily help me. But yeah, there was that 80-mile-an-hour gust near us. That's a lot of wind.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it blew my gate open in my backyard. So like, it blew the doors the wrong way, and it opened even though it was locked. So that's pretty cool.
So that's not broken.
So other than that, pretty normal day, you know.
Yeah. At work, obviously we live in the same town, but at work, the place that I work, we had a pretty good amount of damage. You know, signs, street lights, trees, dead possums. I went up there to check things out. There was a hawk eating a dead pigeon on the outside of the building. So like, it was like Armageddon walking around the place. There's dead animals everywhere. Shit's blown apart. You know, like
Did the pigeon take out your sign? Is that what happened?
I hope so. But I came around the corner and I just saw something like on the sidewalk, and I'm like, what is that? And I could just see it moving, and I was like, that's a hawk. I'm a chicken hawk. And it was just eating a pigeon, and it was like pecking at it, ripping its guts out. I was like, God, this is some National Geographic shit.
Right. You can call me Nighthawk.
That's good. But I understand your Paxton reference, though. It's, of course, in reference to the wonderful film known as Twister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, wonderful film. I think that came out in...
What was it, like 95?
I was going to say 97. Let's look this up.
Ooh. I want to
Let's
say
see.
that, just for the record, that everybody in that movie does, like, they cast the shit out of that movie.
Oh, man. We split the difference. It was 1996. That was a banger. And yeah, you're right.
God, Philip Seymour Hoffman's great.
Philip Seymour Hoffman, Helen Hunt, Bill Paxton, of course. You know, Helen Hunt was very hot in that movie.
Yeah, she was. And there's nothing like, tying a woman to a pipe and making out with her.
Yeah, it also had Carrie Ewells, who's in a lot of stuff. Alan Ruck, it was a banger. Also written by Michael Crichton, who is also the writer of Jurassic Park, of course.
He was on fire in the 90s.
He really was. Jan de Bont directed it. He also directed, you might have heard of it, Speed.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure he did Speed. Let's IMDb this real quick, and then we got to move on here. Yep, Speed, Minority Report, Twister, bangers.
It wasn't a big Minority Report guy.
That's fair. Anyway, guys, we are a PlayStation podcast, not a film podcast, of course. Travis and I get together each and every week. We discuss all things like news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We post new episodes every Monday on all of the usual podcast services, as well as the YouTube, where we also share gameplay videos, and we post there on Monday as well. You can also find us on social media. We would love to hear from you on our Twitter, which is at the DualSense Pod. But we're also on Facebook and Instagram, where we share virtual photography from in-game photo modes. And the last thing, or the last place, I guess I should say, where you can find us is our blog, which is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. The episodes are there each week as well, in addition to our photos, our bios, show notes, etc. So please find us and chat some PlayStation with us, or Twister, or Jan DeMont, or Bill Paxton, whatever.
Please talk about Jan DeMont with us.
we would love to. So anyway, without any further ado, let's jump into some news here. Bill, otherwise known as Travis, starting with number 1. It appears that Ubisoft just refuses to learn its lesson when it comes to burning out its popular IP, most notably that of Assassin's Creed. Website Insider Gaming reported this week that the French publisher has a whopping 10 Assassin's Creed projects in development, with sources telling the site the company is going quote-unquote all in on the franchise. Mirage is the first in line of the 10 titles, with an expected release sometime around August of this year. VR game Project Nexus is also expected to be revealed at E3 ahead of a launch later this year. Moving forward, Ubisoft is returning to its annual release cycle for the series, with Project Red, which is the samurai game, planned for 2024, Invictus, which is a multiplayer game scheduled for 2025, and Hexy, which is the 16th Century Witch Hunt game coming in 2026. Beyond that, Insider Gaming understands that 3 additional full-blown titles are currently in the concept or prototype phase. Ubisoft Sofia has pitched Nebula, a game spanning 3 different settings across India, the Aztec Empire, and the Mediterranean. Ubisoft Chengdu has pitched Raid, a free-to-play 4-player PvE co-op game. And finally, Ubisoft Annecy has pitched Echoes, a multiplayer game that will use Ubisoft's Scalar cloud computing technology. And Ubisoft Annecy is also the team behind games like Steep and Riders Republic. So that's potentially interesting. But anyway, what do you think about this overabundance, if you will, of Assassin's Creed games?
Yeah, it's also all supposed to be tied into like Assassin's Creed Infinity, whatever the fuck that is. So some sort of
Oh, yeah.
hub.
Good call. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is funny because at work on Wednesday, I talked to Logan and Caleb about Assassin's Creed because Logan's like, "Man, I love Assassin's Creed," and I was like, "Boy, put on your pants, it's about to happen." So
Yeah.
it's funny, we've been super critical of Assassin's Creed, and I'm sure we will be again. But we love these smaller type titles, and the funny part about this is, tell me which one of these you don't want. Like the Samurai Project Red, awesome. A multiplayer
Yeah,
could be a lot of fun. Witch Hunt,
true.
lovely, totally into that. You tell me the Aztec and the Mediterranean wouldn't be fun. It will be. Raid, free to play, awesome. 4 players versus enemies with a co-op, dude, that sounds dope.
Mm-hmm.
All of it sounds cool except for Echoes to me. So it's like, because I don't know what it is, but
Yeah, right.
I know that they're beating it into the ground, and that's annoying. Especially we talked about this before. Like, I'm not sure how far. Let me look real quick. At the notes. Okay, we'll talk about this in the next bullet point. But it's cool that that they recognize the IP is nice, and when you're doing a historical game, there's so many different avenues to take. So, it seems like they're trying to grab them all at once in a way. But the
Yeah.
fact that there's 10 makes me hopeful that they'll all be kind of smaller. They won't be gigantor games. They really can't be. You can't have a 10 game release schedule with games that are indefinitely open ended because they'll just overlap. So there's some hope there,
That's
and
interesting.
of course they have the TV show they're trying to tie into. So there's a lot going on there.
Yeah.
It's easy to make fun of them for it, but they all sound kind of cool. So I'm not super upset about it. I do worry about oversaturation. That's about it, though. That's my only complaint is the oversaturation.
Yeah, I mean, that I love Assassin's Creed, and you do too, a little bit from a distance. I know that the history of the
Yeah.
games appeals to you,
The
especially
link
some of the
the link drives me insane. That's my issue with it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know that some of the locations and the time periods really appeal to you, like Assassin's Creed 3, which was the Revolutionary War.
Yeah, it's
One of
dope as fuck.
yeah, that's like the only game that I know of that's ever explored that period of history.
Yeah.
So
And Odyssey, we get to see Alexandria. Like, there's not a more accurate version of the lighthouse or of the library, and none of that exists really. This is the most factual existence of it ever.
Yeah, exactly. And then Origins in ancient Egypt, awesome, dope. It's like all these awesome time periods and settings. That's not the problem. That's actually the thing that appeals to me most about the Assassin's Creed games. Is just that the time periods, the locations. Like they go to settings that most games don't go to. We don't get 16th century witch hunts, like you said. The samurai has been done now, and it's something we've been asking for a long time. But it still sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like you said, the Aztec Empire, that sounds cool. Like, so all the idea, the concepts, the theories of these games all sound very cool. But to your point, I do agree. The problem potentially is in the execution in terms of, okay, are they going to try to give us another Odyssey that you have to play for 70 hours, or another Valhalla that you got to play for 60 or 70 hours, which Valhalla actually, Valhalla is one of those games where I love the setting. England during the time where, the Vikings were, coming over and staking claims and whatever, like that's an awesome time period. It's being done a lot lately across TV and stuff, but not necessarily in video games. So a game that I really liked in theory, liked the setting, etc., but I don't want to play an Assassin's Creed game for that long. And that's my issue. So
you don't want Odyssey to be an Odyssey.
No, correct. This isn't Homer. So I just need these games to be, like you said, if one of them, I'm sure at least one of them is going to be a massive open world game. Dozens of hours. There's no doubt. The Samurai game, Project Red, that's probably that game. But
Hmm.
they can't all be that every year, every
Yeah,
time. They just
you
can't
know,
because that's how they really burn people out, in my opinion.
but to be fair, I don't mind one every now and then. Like, it's not a bad idea every now
Yeah,
and then. You just can't you
right,
can't make them all that big, and you can't execute things on that scale consistently either.
right. Because you had Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla in a row, and maybe not back to back years or anything. Maybe I think there was like 2 years maybe between those, each of those, but still, they're all big games that took dozens of hours to play, and they just can't do that. And I also think that they need to start getting away, at least for some of these titles, from the RPG style mechanics where Odyssey and Valhalla both were like this, where Assassin's Creed is known. It's called Assassin's Creed. You used to be able to stealth kill people in one hit stealth kills.
Hmm.
But in Odyssey and maybe in Origins, I don't remember, but in Odyssey for sure, Valhalla, you had to level up your character to be able to one hit stealth kill people. Like little things like that go counter to the spirit of the series.
Also, just to be honest, I could one hit stealth kill somebody right now, and I have no training. Like, that's ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So it's little things like that that I think that they've got to sort of dial back and really get more back into the spirit of the game. And it sounds like that's what Mirage is going to be. I'm super stoked for that, by the way. I want to try to review that if possible. But so we'll see. We'll see the direction they're going, really starting with Mirage, because that's what they're touting it as, a smaller, more focused, more stealth driven Assassin's Creed game, kind of going back to its roots. But like you said, I do agree. A lot of these sound very cool potentially. So hopefully they know what they're doing. And Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, without a doubt, is Ubisoft's biggest franchise. And we know they're having some struggles in other places, having to cancel a bunch of games, close down some studios. So I understand why they're leaning on this so much, but they've just got to be careful. Number two, the United States Federal Trade Commission ruled this week that Sony must produce a large amount of documents for Microsoft after having their request to quash Microsoft's subpoena mostly denied. The PlayStation maker did win in regards to not having to provide performance reviews for President and CEO Jim Ryan and other executives, but they must provide other vital information, including copies of every third-party licensing agreement since January 1st of 2019, and quote all drafts of and communications regarding, end quote, Jim Ryan's declaration to the Federal Trade Commission. Elsewhere, European regulators are unlikely to demand sales of certain assets in the Microsoft Activision deal, according to Reuters, meaning that Microsoft will be able to keep all of ABK intact in following the transaction. More importantly, this fact means that the deal is likely to go through, albeit with some concessions, and that this saga is finally nearing its end. In fact, three sources familiar with the situation claim that the European Union is satisfied with Xbox's willingness to offer game licensing deals to its rivals, such as the ballyhooed 10-year agreement for Call of Duty that they have already struck with Nintendo and Nvidia. In separate meetings with British regulators, Microsoft has allegedly even offered to hire a third party to oversee its compliance with agreed upon merger remedies, such as these 10-year agreements. So it sounds like we can finally prepare for this whole thing to come to an end, likely by summer. Okay, any thoughts?
Yeah, I've been saying Reuters wrong the whole time. Reuters?
Yeah, it's Reuters.
Didn't know that. Cool.
Hmm.
You know what's great about this is, and I say that sarcastically, is we've been saying the entire time it's going to end as some sort of compromise. So we've been spending a year to get to this
Yeah,
10-year agreement that was mentioned like week 2. So
right.
this is a complete waste of time and money. But I think part of it, I feel like Sony probably knew this would go through, but they just wanted to make a big stink about it, and
Right.
maybe rightfully so in some ways, because I'm sure some things will come out of this once the the agreements are reached and all the concessions are made. I'm sure some stuff will come out eventually in the wash about how Microsoft does business and some of the numbers that they actually produce. I think that could be
Hmm.
an interesting fallout, but we'll see. Maybe not. Microsoft is so hell bent on getting this to go through, and I think it asks the question: what happens if it doesn't?
Right.
Like, why do they need it so bad?
Mm.
PlayStation's always been on this march about how they'll be a monopoly and they'll overrun us. Well, maybe, but Up to this point, Microsoft is incapable of producing first-party games as good as PlayStation. They haven't done anything that is
Yep.
as well received, well regarded, or as fun, or anything.
Yeah.
So it seems like they need a Call of Duty to kind of keep them afloat, especially when you look at the Game Pass numbers, or what we talked about a couple of months ago, where PlayStation 5s had sold an innate amount of just a fucking ridiculous amount of consoles over the last month, and they had sold 1,000 Xboxes. Like, they need the Call of Duty in a way, so though they will be able to offer some incentives to make it more fun to have Call of Duty on the Microsoft, or more appealing, I'm sure, on the
Yeah.
Microsoft system. That seems to be the only thing. But I think the fact they wanted this to go through so bad kind of begs the question of why. Like, were they going to lose
Mm.
Xbox? Were they going to have to sell it? Like, there's a lot of questions there that aren't really answered, that we may never know the answer to. But before I ship it over to you, you made a great point on Twitter the other day that I think a lot of people aren't talking about, and a lot of people are maybe afraid to say,
Mm.
which is, I don't really care if Call of Duty's on PlayStation.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, and I mean, maybe I'm in the minority, but maybe not. If you think about it, 20 million people about buy Call of Duty every year, give or take, and I'd say we know a big portion of those are on play. Let's say 10, 12, 13 million of those are on PlayStation,
hmm
but there's getting ready to be, by this time next year, 50 something million PS5s in the wild.
hmm
So,
I think
yes.
Microsoft cares about it more.
Yeah. And no doubt, I mean, if we're being real, like, does it hurt PlayStation's bottom line? Sure it does. It's a lot, they make 30%, or actually we know now that they give Activision a bigger cut of Call of Duty sales on PlayStation. So let's say PlayStation makes 15 or 20% for every copy of Call of Duty sold. But so yeah, it's a shit ton of money if they sell 13 million copies or whatever on
hmm
PlayStation. No doubt. But is PlayStation going to crumble if they don't have Call of Duty that they can make money off of? No. Will they have to make some things differently? Will they be able to make 16 live service games? Maybe not. Will they be able to make a PSVR 3 headset? Maybe not. You know, but listen, me and you have played Call of Duty for a long time. A couple decades. We like some games, we don't like some. I just, it's one of the most mainstream video games. Also, so I understand that it's like GTA, pick your sports game, Call of Duty, right? Like, those are the ones that some people only play every year. I understand that, but that is also not the end of the world, in my opinion. And if you were to come in here and say, "Oh, now Microsoft is going to buy Electronic Arts and they're going to have Madden and FIFA locked down," okay, and now I think there's a big problem. But is Activision going away? The end of the deal, end of the world? I don't think so. And then I think that, as we've been talking about, Call of Duty is not going to go anywhere on PlayStation for a while. I'm of the mind that eventually it will. I think they're going to come to this 10-year agreement. And I think after 10 years, so 2034, I think it's going to go away. I think it's going to
God.
be an Xbox exclusive. And I think that's plenty of time for PlayStation to get their shit together, if they're not already planning to have a shooter, which I think that they are. I think we know that Deviation Game Studio is making a shooter for PlayStation. And so maybe they're just biding their time, or yeah, Biden, not Biden, biding their time, not Joe Biden,
hmm
Joe Biden. At the end of the day, we've talked about how we're ready for this to be over. It's gone on for far too long. You make a good point that we've done all this, we've spent all this money, all this time, and they haven't come to anything yet, but they're going to come to some type of compromise in the end. It's likely, like I said, going to end with Microsoft giving Call of Duty to PlayStation for 10 years, like they have Nintendo, etc. It's a give and take, because if you remember back when this was early days, Microsoft was saying, "Well, we're going to do this, but we'll extend your Call of Duty deal, PlayStation, for 3 years." So they have gone from 3 years to 10 years. So it's not all for nothing. PlayStation is going to get something out of it. If nothing else, they're buying themselves more time to figure out what they're going to do when inevitably Call of Duty is not on PlayStation anymore. And so it's been smart from Sony mostly. Both companies have looked stupid and at times. and I'm just ready for it to be over because I'm tired of people on Twitter. Like, I borderline got into it with Jeff Grubb the other night on Twitter, but then I realized I probably shouldn't because I write for a website now and all that. But like, he tweeted out and highlighted this sentence from this subpoena thing where Sony, lost and has to provide all these documents, and the judge made some, or not the judge, but a legal blog made some type of summary of what the judge said, and he said something along the lines of, well, if PlayStation had just negotiated with Xbox, they would have got a much more favorable outcome
Why?
in this and in other areas. And then I clicked the link and read it and realized it's only talking about the subpoena of documents for the FTC. And I tweeted at him, I'm like, this is literally only talking about the subpoena of documents. And he's like, okay, and what I want to say was, and you're acting like this is what I want to say is like you're tweeting this out to fan the freaking Twitter console war over Activision. You know what you're doing, bud. Like
Yeah.
you're making it sound like Sony is stupid and they should have just come to an agreement over Call of Duty immediately and this and that. Like, don't you know what you're making it sound like?
Yeah, but that also doesn't make sense because they would have gotten a 3-year deal.
Yeah,
So they
exactly.
got a better deal. If that's what they wanted, it was a better deal. They got it.
Yeah, exactly. And so what I ended up saying, I said this. He said, "Okay," and I said, "Well, okay. So is this really that important?" And I said, "Or are you just trying to make a general point that Sony's being ornery about it, like and just contrary?" And he was like, "It's not a big blow for Sony." That's my point. And then you're out here highlighting it on Twitter when you already know the reaction it's going to get.
Yeah, and that's what people do.
And then you want to act like you're fed up with console wars and GGers on Twitter and shit like that. Like just stop it.
Yeah,
Like just say you were bored on a Wednesday night and you wanted attention.
but yeah,
Anyway.
like there's a guy of our beloved basketball team lost this week, and there was a writer who wrote something about. I think I might have sent it to you about one of our point guards who didn't come to senior night because
Hmm.
he's injured, and he
Yeah,
had
yeah, yeah.
surgery that day. So they said like, yeah, he has surgery this afternoon, so he's still basically in recovery on something, but it wasn't related to his injury. And he's like, well, he didn't come to senior day because he's tired of all the fans yapping about him and giving him a hard time because he sucks. And it's like, but then when you read
Yeah.
the comments, he's defending himself and basically saying he was wrong. But people only see the first tweet. Like Jeff
Yeah.
Grubb at the very end of that is agreeing with you, but people are
Yeah,
never going to
he
read the
is.
comments.
No.
So like he contradicted himself within the comment. Yeah, it's not that big of a deal. Well, you fucking tweeted out like it was. So which one is it, dude?
Yeah, and that was really my point. Like, and I listen, and if people, nobody will, but if somebody was like to pull this out and like tweet at Grub, like, look what this person said, like, people are going to pull out whatever they want to say to show him or send to him, and just like 40 people like that his reply to okay, but nobody said anything about his response to like, well, it really isn't that big of a blow to PlayStation. Like, that's my point. Like, and then listen, I know it's his job. I know he was just responding, or maybe he was just making comment because it is, I guess, news that they have to give up the documents and whatever. So that's fine, but just I guess the bottom line is I'm sick of the fucking horseshit on Twitter from both parties in terms of just like back and forth and will Xbox this and PlayStation that. Like, it just gets so boring. Like, I can't tell you how many times when I'm scrolling through Twitter and I start to see stuff like that from people, and I just hit the three dots and say not interested in this tweet, and it's hit not relevant to me. Like, 'cause I don't want to see that
Yeah.
on my Twitter feed. Like, I'm so sick of it.
But
So
here's the thing about this too. Sony has enough lawyers and they've been through enough lawsuits that we don't even know about that
yeah,
they are aware of what could be subpoenaed to them. So if they were worried about something that could be asked of them to give up, they wouldn't. They would have already made a deal offhand. They would have settled out of the court or out of the realms
yeah,
of what's going on. Like same thing with Microsoft. If they had some shit they didn't want to come out that could be in these documents, they would do the same thing. Like Sony's not worried
hmm,
about what they're going to have to subpoena to give over. Like I think the only thing that they really thought was annoying was the reviews and whatnot on Jim Ryan because those reviews probably go into the metrics he made for his bonuses or whatever, the metrics he
oh
achieved to
yeah,
verify his employment standing. Like
yeah, yeah,
you don't want that to come out, and they got
sure,
that blocked because they knew they could, or they got it rejected, or however you want to word it. So yeah, I
hmm,
mean that's just what people do. Like these media people, I get it, and the only way that like we could ever win an argument with him on Twitter was if we had 1 million followers. So it's not really
right,
even worth the time or the breath, but Like,
Yeah, yeah.
back to Call of Duty in general, like, we've been the people that went to midnight releases.
Oh,
We've
yeah.
been to all like, we've been to what we're gonna call them, like, the first 5 we probably went to,
Yeah.
stayed up all night, immediately played it at midnight. We've done all that stuff. It's not like we hate Call of Duty. I
Yeah.
think the thing about, like, you mentioned these people that they play, like, the other sports game, they play Call of Duty, and they play whatever other mainstream game comes out, like, I think that we've moved past that, and by we, I mean, like, our gaming group, like, we
Mhm.
still play Call of Duty if it's cool and fun or whatever, but there's so many other things
Mm.
like Hell Let Loose and Insurgency, like, in a lot of ways, those games are better than Call of Duty for what they bring to the table as far as realism and, like, having to play with a strategy and, I think as we
Right.
get older, those games are more interesting to us, and I mean, you play Rainbow Six, it's not like you don't play these quick twitch games, like, you still do, it's just different, like, if we made a whole episode on, like, what our favorite genre is, like, my favorite genre of game is co-op, and I don't mean that in, like, the traditional co-op sense. Even playing, like, Battlefield to me is co-op in a sense, like, I don't play it
Mhm.
as a multiplayer, I play it as a co-op game, like, I would rather be at the same points with the squad trying to take the point or being in a vehicle with the squad doing whatever in a
Right.
tank or a helicopter than wandering around on my own, taking out shit like I used to do, like, to me, the fun part of the games is to play them with your group of friends, and to me, that makes all those games co-op, like, I don't know, you can't Call of Duty just doesn't do that in a way anymore. I feel like it used to do it really well, but it seems like it doesn't as much, but they don't make games specifically for me, so it's understandable.
Yeah. So the last thing about this with the whole subpoena documents thing, Sony is 100% sending all that shit in Japanese if they can.
Classic.
I'm just gonna tell you that right now. They're sending all that shit in Japanese if they can get by with it. All right. Number 3, we have a bunch of news nuggets as well, Travis. Feel free to jump in here. First nugget, PlayStation shared the results of their recent Player's Choice Best of PS5 poll this week, voted on 100% by the fans. Best use of the DualSense was Astro's Playroom. Best indie game was Travis's favorite game, Stray. Best graphical showcase was God of War Ragnarok, which, as you all know, I take issue with. I think it should be Forbidden West. And then best game was God of War Ragnarok on PS5. A little interesting tidbit there. Also, as a
Yeah,
part of
they
the, go ahead.
no, I mean, like, just unrelated, PlayStation does a really good job with things like this of creating, like, a cult. I think
Yeah.
Microsoft should work on that, like, people who are PlayStation heads, it's because of shit like this. They cater to us dumb fans a lot.
Yeah, like this literally
It's
means
nothing.
nothing. Yeah, but it's just a cool little thing. So I agree. Also, as a part of the newly formed PlayStation Playmakers influencer program, Sony and LeBron James, fart noise, have teamed up to create limited edition PS5 cover plates and a DualSense controller.
I'm more interested in what's next. Who's next?
Yeah.
If this is like McDonald's with all the Happy Meals you were talking about, the
Yeah.
adult Happy Meals.
Yeah. I can't wait for the Cardi B offset DualSense controller.
I can't wait either. Yeah, the Takeoff one is apparently it died already in production, so
I was trying to remember which one of those guys died
yeah,
today.
Takeoff took off.
Yeah, Takeoff took the hell off for sure. Got the hell out of here. Also, first person narrative adventure game The Last Worker is launching on PS5 and PSVR 2 on March 30th. It can be played both flat on a TV or in the VR headset.
Is that what we say now?
It is what we say now, yeah.
Okay.
A bunch of outlets and content creators got to go hands on with Final Fantasy 16 recently. If you're interested in some preview coverage, by all accounts, it appears to be shaping up quite well. In other Final Fantasy 16 news, producer Naoki Yoshida reiterated that a PC release would happen quote unquote eventually, though stressed it will be after the 6-month PlayStation 5 exclusivity window. The game will also be getting a demo just before launch, with progress transferring to the full release. For all you nerds out there, website Video Games Chronicle reported that Xbox boss Phil Spencer says that quote unquote Xbox will exist, even if the Activision deal does not go through. This came following some scuttlebutt online this week that Microsoft would consider selling off their gaming division should the deal fall through. That would be
Hmm.
something.
I'm
So
for it.
Tencent. Yeah,
Who is Phil Tencent? Who's Phil Spector?
I don't know, but that's definitely not the guy that runs Xbox. I know
Okay,
that
I
you
don't
think
know.
that in your head.
Whatever, man. No, yeah, I love that Microsoft is bought by Tencent or Embracer Group or something like that.
Get bought by Embracer and then fold in the next 12 months because Embracer is out of control.
Embracer's like Carvana. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh, that's a good pull. Also, the developer of Tales of Symphonia Remastered has apologized for the state of the game following its launch. Apparently, it is experiencing countless crashes, extremely long load times, and missing textures. Sounds like it wasn't done. Along those lines, Blood Bowl 3 developer Cyanide Studios has apologized for server issues and controversy over the game's seemingly unfair monetization scheme, which they say they're not going to change, by the way. EA, bold strategy, Cotton. EA has been sending out surveys polling fans on their interest in remakes of Dead Space 2 and 3, so those are definitely happening.
100%.
Yeah. Analytics firm Ampere Analysis has estimated that Xbox Series X and S sales are at around 18.5 million units, while PS5 is at 30 million. And I thought they actually were already over 30 million. I thought they self-reported that in financial earnings, but I could be wrong about that. Could be wrong. Thought they were like 31 or 32 already, but
That sounds right to me. I think that's what we said a couple weeks
yeah, because
ago.
I think they are saying they're going to be at like 56 by this time next year, if I remember right.
Yeah, because
Anyway,
it was the same episode where they had sold 1,000 Xboxes in Japan in the last
oh
30 days.
yeah, and then like 100,000 PS5s or something. Yeah. All right, Forspoken developer Luminous Productions will be shut down and its staff merged with publisher Square Enix. Luminous is, or was, I'm not sure, currently working on Forspoken DLC, so they did not survive the middling reception to Forspoken. They're going to be spun out, or spun off, I should say. Elden Ring's first expansion called Shadow of the Erd Tree was announced this week. Okay. Everybody's
What
very excited about that.
what a cool name.
Yeah.
No, I saw the memes. It was like people playing Harry Potter, and then the guy gets like decked and Elden Ring standing there.
That's funny. I didn't see that.
I'll send it to you later.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 studio head Guillaume Carmona has left his role at Ubisoft Montpellier amid a labor investigation at the developer. That game is never happening. They might as well
Oh,
just cancel that.
please tell me it was child labor.
Oh, it could be. Could be. That's a big thing right now. Where have I seen that? That's like
I don't know, 1800s New York.
no, that's a big thing right now. Like there's American companies who've been discovered to have like be working kids that are like 12 and 13 years old and stuff, something like
Shout
that.
out to Nike.
Shout out to Nike and shit. Also, The Outer Worlds Spacer's Choice Edition was formally announced for PS5. It is arriving on March 7th and will feature 4K, a dynamic weather system, overhauled lighting and environments, improved performance, enhanced character details, and an increased level cap. Players who own the base game and both DLCs can upgrade for $10. Otherwise, it will run you $60. God of War Ragnarok is BAFTA's most nominated game ever, with 14 total for the 2023 awards, which will take place on March 30th.
What is a BAFTA?
It's pretty prestigious. There's like BAFTA Film Awards, and now they do video. They've been doing video games for maybe 15 or 20 years now, so it's pretty prestigious. It's a British thing. I think it's the British Academy of Film something
Television arts.
Film television arts. Yeah. Okay, 14 minutes of new Dead Island 2 gameplay dropped this week. If you're interested, and it's looking very good, quite good.
Did you send this to us?
I sent it to Jacob because I didn't know if you and John would care, but maybe you would. I mean, you played the first one, but I know you don't like zombie shit. So
I'm intrigued. I'll watch it. I'll see.
Okay. Next nugget: Capcom will host a 26-minute digital event next week with updates on games and new announcements. It will include news on Resident Evil 4 remake, Exoprimal, Monster Hunter Rise, Mega Man Battle Network Collection, and Ghost Trick Phantom Detective. Sounds slightly like a porno. Also, Square Enix president Yosuke Matsuda has resigned from the company after 10 years in the role. It will be effective this summer, with Takeshi Kiryu set to replace him. Kiryu has been with the company since 2020 as the general manager of its corporate planning division, and apparently they have no intentions to back off their push into NFTs. So we'll see how that goes for them.
God.
Gran Turismo 7 and Just Dance 2023 will be events in the 2023 Olympic Esports Series, Travis, which takes place in Singapore from June 22nd through the 25th. The list also includes Konami's $1 arcade baseball game WBSC, eBaseball Power Pros. That's something.
Yeah. I mean, this will be my second time being an Olympic athlete as a trying out for the Olympics, so I'm really excited about it.
Yeah. Oh, you won the other night, which I'm sure
I
you'll talk
did.
about, so you definitely should try out. Also, martial arts brawler Sifu is getting a new Arenas update on March 28th that's said to add about 10 hours of gameplay. Telltale Games has delayed The Wolf Among Us 2 to 2024. The director of the Star Wars Jedi series has said he wants to make it a trilogy of games after Survivor releases. SIE head of third-party portfolio and acquisitions, Sean Benson, told Games Industry that Sony wants to focus on, quote, making PlayStation the best place to play, end quote, third-party games on, not in terms of exclusivity, but more so making them most appealing on PS5 through using its unique technology. She also shared that in the past, PlayStation negotiated more with games that were close to release, whereas now they are identifying and negotiating with developers on projects that are 3 to 5 years out.
Hmm.
So just an interesting little shift in paradigm there.
Yeah.
So,
Both seem smart.
yeah. Also, website Gaming Nexus reported that Hitman studio IO Interactive announced they are developing an online fantasy RPG codenamed Project Fantasy. Pretty original. They are currently staffing up for the project, which they say will revolutionize the genre. So they're making an online fantasy RPG and a 007 game. Very intriguing. Indeed. This,
They're all
this
over
makes
the
me
place.
wet. Makes me wet, though. Website Games Industry reported that the Crew franchise has now topped 40 million players worldwide across the first two games. Diablo co-creator Eric Schaefer has been appointed as the chief creative officer at developer Moonbeast Productions. Website Push Square reported that a new patch is out for The Legend of Dragoon on PS4 and PS5, which should solve its performance issues. Developer First Contact Entertainment has revealed that upcoming PSVR 2 shooter Firewall Ultra is being made on Unreal Engine 5, one of the first VR2 releases to do so. Very excited about that. The Division 2 is finally back in action after a recent glitch that would not allow Ubisoft to update the game. Forgot about this. As such, its latest content update called Reign of Fire is available right now.
It gives me a lot of hope about those 10 Assassin's Creed games.
Right. Some dude sneezed and hit the wrong key back in the office and just broke the fucking server or whatever. A new Tekken 8 gameplay trailer dropped this week, and it's all about Jin Kazama. You care about that? A new firmware update dropped for PS3 this week that naturally improved system performance.
Thank God.
Yeah. Bus Simulator 21 is getting a PS5 upgrade on May 23rd, featuring 4K visuals, DualSense support, and other improvements. It will be free for all owners of the PS4 version as it makes its next stop.
So is this still only available on flat play?
Yes, only flat screens.
Okay.
Asymmetrical multiplayer horror game Dead by Daylight is getting a film adaptation from the well-known production firm Blumhouse.
That actually might be cool. Like that seems like
Yeah.
that game feels more like a movie to me anyway. This is the way it works.
I'm trying to picture like Ghostface from Scream and like Jason Voorhees, like all these people running around, like one big movie. I don't know.
I mean, I imagine it is low budget, to be fair.
Yeah, true. Also, turn-based RPG Ruined King, a League of Legends story, got its PS5 upgrade this week out of nowhere. It is free for owners of the PS4 version of the game. Free-to-play arcade racing game Trackmania is getting a console technical test from March 13th through March 29th, and you can register for it now on the game's website, and I did so, of course. It's from Ubisoft. It looks pretty cool, actually.
That game is a speedrunner's wet dream.
Oh, okay.
Look up
maybe.
Look up the shit about I think it's the same game they play on PC.
Yeah, it's on PC.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. You should just look it up.
Okay. It might not be for me then. I'll have to see. Sony was chip maker AMD's biggest customer in 2022 thanks to the success of the PlayStation 5, accounting for a whopping 16% of the semiconductor company's revenue or nearly $4 billion for 2022. Incredible. Lemming-style puzzle game 10 Hearts has been confirmed to be getting a PSVR 2 version sometime this summer. It's coming to PS4 and PS5 on April 20th. Diablo-style action RPG Wolcen Lords of Mayhem is coming to PS4 and PS5 on March 15th. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that new documents published by the British CMA in relation to the Activision deal revealed that shooter games account for 40% of play time on both PS4 and PS5. Sony also claims that without Call of Duty revenue, games like God of War might not have been funded. A little dramatic. Content creators are now getting copyright strikes on their videos for The Last of Us games, thanks to issues with the game's music also appearing in the HBO show. It's a little bit of a yikes. Sony announced the creation of the PlayStation Playmakers program. Oh, I guess I jumped the gun on that earlier. It includes influencer partnerships with celebrities, music stars, professional athletes, and more. And some of the first crop of playmakers include the aforementioned LeBron James, Jamar Chase, King Bach, Jimmy Allen, and Romelu Lukaku.
What's a King Bach? What's a Jimmy Allen?
Apparently he's a hang on. King Bach, I think, is a comedian. Jimmy Allen is a country singer, country music singer.
Oh, I love that. I love comedy. Have no idea who King Bach is.
Also, Sony has unveiled a new lineup of televisions coming in 2023 that are said to bring PS5 gaming, quote unquote, to the next level. It includes both LED and OLED models, but no pricing or release dates have been announced. Website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: The Division 2, Destiny 2, Battlefield 2042, The Legend of Dragoon, Like a Dragon Ishin, Minecraft, DayZ, Wild Hearts, Disney Dreamlight Valley, Dreams, Genshin Impact, and No Man's Sky. So if you've been waiting for some performance fixes or new content, check those out. HBO's The Last of Us Season 2 should begin filming later this year, according to actor Pedro Pascal. I'm going to guess probably summer or probably a fall release next year for Season 2. Speaking of, HBO almost cast Blade actor Mahershala Ali as Joel rather than Pascal. Both guys are very good, but I think they made the right choice. Persona 6 has been delayed internally and now has quote unquote zero chance of launching this year, according to prolific Persona leaker called I'm a Hero 2. Don't be a hero, buddy. Samurai action RPG Rise of the Ronin has been in development for 7 years, says Koei Tecmo. It is currently scheduled to release in 2024. Jesus Christ, that's a long time to make a game. Better be good.
I feel like, when did 47 Ronin come out? They just saw Keanu and were like, we need a video game.
Could be.
Yeah, it came out in 2013.
Oh, well, yeah,
It's
that checks out just about.
I'm going to say that's what happened.
Yeah. Website Gematsu reported that arcade first-person shooter Post Void will launch for PS4 on March 16th, with the PS5 version coming later this year as a free upgrade. First-person horror action game Beneath was announced to be coming to PS5 in 2024. Former Marvelous Executive Vice President Toshinori Aoki and former BlazBlue series producer Toshimichi Mori announced the founding of a new Tokyo-based development team called Studio Flare, which is a cool name, and it's being funded by Chinese company NetEase Games. It's not so cool anymore. Action-adventure game Strayed Lights will launch for PS4 and PS5 on April 25th. Horror-themed fighting game Omen of Sorrow will launch for PS5 on March 23rd. Side-scrolling Metroidvania game Vernal Edge will launch on PS4 and PS5 on March 14th. Action RPG Trinity Trigger will launch for PS4 and PS5 on April 25th in North America and May 16th in Europe, or European, as wrote there, from publisher Xseed Games. Oh. Also, story-driven action game Gripper, I hardly know her, will release on PS4 and PS5 later this year.
Too many of these hard ER games.
It's getting off the rails. Also, Japanese studio Sieg Games, or Sieg Games, I don't know. They announced a multiplayer mech action shooter, Project MBR, for PS5. It is scheduled for release in April of next year. Side-scrolling action platformer Lunark will launch for PS4 and PS5 on March 30th. Publisher Paradox Interactive announced future expansions for upcoming tactical strategy game Age of Wonders 4, which launches May 2nd for PS5. And finally, Atari will release Games Collection Atari Mania for PS4 and PS5 on April the 4th. And that is all for the news this week. And I'm going to turn it over to Travis now for this week's new games.
I'm really not happy about one of these. I can't even pronounce it. I don't even... On the 28th, we have Destiny 2 Lightfall, which is very excited for you guys who like pain. We have Fernbus Coach Simulator, which I don't know what are we doing with this? Like a
I don't
bus,
know.
like a coach bus, or like
Right. Or like a basketball coach. I don't know.
oh
I'm going to guess it's a
we
coach,
got
like a
Scars
bus.
Above. Yeah, I'm gonna guess it's a coach, and you didn't. Okay.
Like a bus coach, you know?
Okay.
Okay.
We have Scars Above, and then we have Void Star
Hmm.
TRRL
Elon Musk did.
2M parentheses colon semicolon 2 forward slashes Void Terrarium 2 on PS4.
Hmm.
Oh, that's what it said before that. Void Terrarium 2. And thank you for the phonetic spelling
Uh-huh.
there. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
On March the 1st, we have Bindi and the Dark Revival. Broke the Investigator. That's pretty cool. Fight and Rage. It's about steroids. Then we have Leap. March the
Hmm.
2nd, we have Arcade Archives, Sky Kid DX, Mayhem and Single Valley, Pretty Girls, Breakers Plus, Porno,
Whoa. Well, pornos there.
Pyramid Raiders, Railway Island. That could be interesting. Strike Force 2, Terrorist Hunt. That's about George Bush's presidency. March the 3rd, we have Blood Roots, Gunman Tales,
Jesus Christ.
Insomnus Long Night, No Longer Home, The Smile, Alchemist. How dare you put Void Terrarium on here again? Wulong Fallen Dynasty. And then finally we have Animal Shelter Simulator. And I hope to
Yeah.
God you cannot make it a kill shelter.
I know. It looks wonderful. I thought about it I think if it didn't come out already, because I think we have the opportunity to review that, but I just don't have time right now. If it was a different time, I would definitely review Animal Shelter Simulator on PS5. But you know, let's see here. Wo Long probably Destiny 2 and Lightfall and Wo Long probably the two biggest things this week. There's some other random stuff scattered in there. Leap is I think mixed. I think it's kind of mid. I don't know. It's a first person shooter thing, competitive shooter. So I'm gonna look up some of these other ones though, like Railway Islands. I want to check that out. Maybe this terrorist hunt game. See see
Yeah.
what that's about. Anyway, and that's all for the new games this week. And we'll start to wrap the show up here like we always do by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What about you?
Played the new Battlefield season. The new map is interesting. I kind of like it. I
Hmm.
think the more I get used to it, the more I like it. But it's got some really nice. It's super linear, but it's got some really nice like depth. I think D is pretty cool. How you can drop down in there for the capture point.
Oh yeah,
You get
yeah,
some nice sniping areas, and you get some really cool like that industrial area. Like those are pretty awesome close to mid combat areas. So it's got pretty much everything in it. Like it's like a legit Battlefield map. How it has, you know, you could play it any way you want, really, which is what I like about those maps. We didn't do anything too crazy, I don't think.
yeah.
Yeah, I switched snipers back to the SW10 because I wanted to unlock a couple of things for it because I was really close. Is the 40 time scope real or is that a myth?
I That's a great question. It seems real, but in retrospect, that could have been fake.
Yeah, because I didn't see it unless you unlock it like on the battle pass. I didn't see it. I didn't take the time to look at the battle pass. There's a sawed off. There's like a sawed off double barrel shotgun. Have you seen this that you can get on the battle pass? It's like level 34.
Oh yeah, the secondary
Yeah,
weapon. I'm very
I got
excited about
fucking
that.
murdered by it last night. Like
Yeah,
legitimately jumped because it was so loud in my ear. But it looks pretty cool. So, but no, I mean, it's fun. And I just unlocked the new character. I haven't played with her yet though. And I was playing last night. I was playing with the support class, and one of them has like a rocket launcher you can drive.
Oh,
Um,
really?
yeah, I'll have to send it to you. It's fucking awesome. I can't remember any of the names, but like
Huh.
literally, they also have like anti mines you can lay down. So I got blown up by one of those because somebody like I literally threw it down and turned around, and a car drove over it and killed us both. And then
Perfect.
I would just throw them on the road and run off and play. And like I put them in places like a D on orbital, like there's always vehicles up there. So I'll just throw them around D, and like eventually somebody will run one over, and I'll get points randomly for it. So that's a good time. But yeah, other than that, I played GT Sports. So last week we tried the VR. It's very cool. I enjoy the VR.
Oh
Like
yeah, yeah.
Like, and it's funny because like if you look at what I'm looking at on the TV, it's not impressive at all. But like when you have it on and you can look inside the car and you can see all the switches and like the fucking Willie's Jeep was the coolest thing. Like all these levels, you could look out the door and there's a freaking shovel, and then
Yeah.
like I was drifting the Willie's Jeep because I could look out of the window to see where I was going actually, and like
Yeah.
stuff that you can't do. I cannot drift on that game on the wheel, but on the VR it was easy. So it's
Oh,
like,
really?
yeah, it's fascinating how it like because I can move and look around and see where I'm going in a more natural way. I don't know, it's just interesting. I love that it locks you in the cockpit view, which like there's this huge like if you get bored one day, like there's this huge thing about sim racing where like you have to drive in cockpit pit view, which like most of us drive in cockpit or like on the front bumper. If you do sim racing with the chase cam, like I don't know what you're doing. Like that's the only cardinal sin I think. 'Cause the whole point is to be immersed, so like it kind of defeats the purpose.
Right. I
And the
agree.
reason the bumper's okay to me is like I've raced a real car before and like you don't even notice the inside of the car. Like all you see is like it's like you're looking through the bumper. So it kind of
Mm.
it works. But anyway, I only have 2 trophies left for the platinum. The final last night I looked and I just happened to look online and the legend car I was missing was available. It was 12 million credits. Um so
Nice.
I had to do some microtransactions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was just like, fuck it, I'm gonna
Wow.
own this car. Because like
Yeah.
so I had to buy a couple million credits.
Wow. Look at you. You're a big kid now.
And yeah, and so I have that. All I have left is the 50 race thing, which is highly annoying because it says I've done 60 something races with like 40 something top fives. So like I almost have 50
Mhm.
top fives and it's not triggering the trophy. So I don't know if I did rage quit, but
Yeah.
you know, I feel
I'd
like I've rage
say,
quit more than 10 races. I feel like I have to have.
yeah, I'd say so.
So maybe that's it.
I feel like you gotta, I feel like you gotta complete, a handful more
And I
possibly for that
also
trophy.
did like, I did some of the races where it doesn't affect your driver rating because they were just a blast. Like there's these go-kart races I did for like a couple weeks. They're just so much fun.
Yeah, that
And
was cool to watch you do that.
they don't do anything but the count. I say I don't know if those actually counted per
Yeah,
se.
probably
So
not, I would
if those
guess.
didn't count, then I might have a way to go. But there's nothing that tells me otherwise. But I did
Mm.
the Nations or whatever it's called, the Nations Cup race last night. I spent part of the day, like, I think I did like 30 laps to try to get into, practice for like 30 minutes and finally, finally figured out how to run the track. Anyway, I won the pole by like 3/10 of a second, which doesn't seem like a lot, but like it's a 20 lap race. So you do the math, 3/10 of a second times 20 it's a pretty big margin to win the pole by. And
Right.
yeah, it was a highly uneventful race. I think turn 3 or 4, the guy in second challenged me for a minute. But it's kinda like, when you've been practicing, like, and you have the pole, all you gotta do is just forget about the car behind you and just run the laps you're training on, especially when you're 3/10 faster than the other guy, you'll just drive away. And, I was up by almost 20 seconds, I lapped, like, 3 or 4 cars, and you have to make a pit stop on those races, and it's required, which was, weird because I didn't need tires and I didn't need gas. Like, there's no reason to pit, but you have to. So I pit with like 3 or 4 laps to go. I just took new
Oh, yeah.
tires for the hell of it, just to get the fastest lap. That's the only reason I took new tires. So I went back
Mhm.
out on the track and took the fastest lap and passed. I came out in fifth. I passed the guy in third and fourth, and I was chasing down the guy in second. And like I was coming to the line, and I'm like, "How the fuck am I losing these guys?" Like I was up by like almost 20 seconds. Like, what are you talking about? And across the line, turns out they never pitted, and they got like a minute penalty. So they completely fell off the leaderboard. I ended up winning by like 13 seconds, which is wild to me that like these dudes did not pit. And
And then lost because of it.
yeah, and like I almost passed them anyway, even though I pitted. So it pits like 35, 40 seconds. So like I shouldn't be ahead of you by a minute. Like, what are you doing? But anyway, yeah. So I sent you. Did I send you the picture of my rankings? I don't know if I did, but
I don't think
so
so.
right now I'm number one in the state. I'm number two in the
Dope.
manufacturer. number 2 manufacturer in the country for Audi. And then,
No way.
yeah, then, like, in my region, which is North Central South America, I'm, like, 500th, so that's not too bad. But, it was a nice car track combination that really worked for me, so we'll have to see if this actually lasts.
That's dope. That's dope. You're moving up. That's pretty high in the rankings. Like number one in the state for Audi or in general.
In general, like, I've done that before, it's not that hard, but,
Yeah.
like, I've 500th in the country or in my region, like, that's pretty
Hmm.
good, I think the highest I've ever
Yeah.
been is, like, 800, so I don't know what's
That's
happening
pretty
there.
good. It's pretty good. Now you just need that platinum, and you can be legit. Well, like you said, that we played Battlefield 2042. I'm really enjoying the new season. I like the new map. I'm a fan of these maps that are what I would call linear, and what I mean by that is like when you look at them, you know what I'm saying? When
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
straight.
from left, yeah, they're straight from left to right, you know. So like you have the points spread out, but they're not like, oh, it's all the way fucking over here. It's like, yeah, I can go through A and then I can run over to B or C. They're kind of in the same pathway. I just need to decide, a little bit, which way I want to go. Like, I like that layout in general for the maps. There's a couple good ones, like Exposure is laid out like that. Spearhead's laid out like that. I think they figured it out. Like that's kind of the magic sauce for this game. So because the last three maps that are new ones that they've given us have had that similar layout pretty much, and so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I like the new SMG quite a bit, the AC9 or whatever. That's a really good gun. And I just got the explosive sticky grenade launcher last night unlocked, so
Oh, nice.
I'm looking forward. Yeah, looking forward to trying that out. I think I'm like rank 18 or something like that, so I'll have that shotgun in due time. But also excited about the new assault rifle, LMG. We got a lot of new guns this season,
Mhm.
actually. If you think about it, so pretty dope. Great game. Wonderful game. I told our editor at the website the other night, I said, if you haven't figured it out, I'm a Battlefield whore. So he's like, yeah, indeed, I have noticed that. So, so I do love the Battlefield, and I'm not ashamed. Also been playing a game called Chef Life, a restaurant simulator. Some weird shit going on with that a little bit. Not the game itself. It's fine so far. It is not out yet. It's not actually out until March 28th. It got delayed. It was supposed to come out February 2nd. The embargo, which is why I'm able to talk about it, ended on February 23rd. So it's no longer under embargo. Matter of fact, Push Square already put their review out for it, but it doesn't release on PS4 and PS5 until March 28th. So I've got some time here. I'll get back to it to finish up my review of it, but it's pretty cool. Pretty cool so far. It can get tough. It's not too like in the weeds or anything in terms of like the steps you have to take, but it's enough to where you got to pay attention. Anyway, I'll have some more thoughts on that in a couple of weeks probably. I've also been playing some PSVR 2 games. I've got my first two reviews out for PSVR 2 games. The first one was The Last Clockwinder, or The Last Cockwinder, as you like to say. Wonderful game. Excellent game. You'll laugh at this, but it's the highest score that I've given a game so far in my 6 months at Gaming Nexus. And I'd say I've reviewed maybe 24 or 30 games at this point, like close to 30 games at this point, maybe. So I gave it a 9.5, and
Hmm.
I'm the highest score that it has on Metacritic. So, which is funny. And then it's excellent. I'm just telling you, it's awesome. If you are going to get PSVR 2, or maybe you're not right now, but eventually, and you're worried about, oh, it's gonna make me sick or whatever. Like, I think The Last Clockwinder is like the perfect gateway game. It never made me feel weird. Never made me sick at all. I played from 30 minutes to 3 hours various times. It has an awesome premise and mechanics, and you're like making clones of yourself performing actions to create like an assembly line to solve puzzles. Very cool. And then I played Moss, which is a port of a original PSVR game. It's a port and upgrade. That's also a wonderful game. It's like a 3D action platformer, very charming, very cool perspective. It's almost like you're looking in the back of a dollhouse type of thing. Very cool. Very cool. And gave it a 9. So you can read both of my reviews of those over at Gaming Nexus. We're pretty high so far on most of the launch titles that we played. I think the lowest score of the launch window games we've played so far, I think, is 8.5 is the lowest score we've given thus far. The next one I'm going to be working on is Zombieland Headshot Fever, which is like an arcade light gun shooter, like, you know, the old Area 51 arcade games, like that
Yeah.
style of game. It's like that. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's supposed to be pretty good.
When are you gonna review a game you hate? That's what I'm interested in.
I don't know, man. Like, well, I did review that firefighting simulator game and gave it a 5.5. It
Classic.
it wasn't very good.
You couldn't save anybody. Did you keep dying?
Yeah, it was a glitchy mess, and like the AI was dumb as fuck. And then I think after that, the next lowest score was 7. It was the first game I reviewed, was that medieval dynasty game or whatever. I gave it a 7. So I'm usually around that like 8, around that like 8.0. Like, you know, it's most, like, generally speaking, I feel like most games are not bad games. Like most games are anywhere from average to good. You know what I'm saying? And then some are like really good, and then then rarely, on occasion, some are just bad. Like they didn't try, or it's a fucking mess or whatever. So anyway, I also have a pretty good barometer of like what I think is going to be dog shit and what's not. So like you know, and I think it's fair to say that I don't think any reviewer is going to ask to review a game that they don't think is potentially good. Does that make sense? Like, I
Yeah.
don't ask for games that I don't think I'm not going to like, for
Oh,
instance.
I would review the bad games. That sounds fun. Just trash them.
I just,
What do you mean?
yeah, I know, but that's no fun. Like to sit through a fucking game that you hate, and then you got to sit there and fucking just dog cuss it,
God, as
trash it.
much as you
So
don't
I
like being
typically,
happy, it seems like you would enjoy that.
yeah, you're right. That's fair. But yeah, I like to typically ask for games that I'm interested in, which is the way it goes. I mean, we review games at the site that we're interested in, which I think is, I mean, that's the point. And so anyway, that's all I got. So I'm excited to get into some more VR, more Battlefield, and I've got some other reviews that I can't speak about at the moment. But there's a lot of stuff coming. It's as we know, 2023 is a motherfucker of a year for video games. So be on the lookout. But that's it for me. It's it for Travis. Maybe he'll have the platinum this time next week. And that's it for our show. So if you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to get new episodes delivered to you every Monday. Also, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your podcast service. Some stars, hearts, a thumbs up or a like, comment on YouTube is appreciated as well. Also, if you could share us with a friend or a loved one who you think might enjoy the show, where they can get all of the week's PlayStation news in less than 90 minutes, that would be much appreciated. We would love to talk into their ear holes. Don't forget to find us on social media, on Twitter at the DualSense Pod, but we're also on Facebook and Instagram. Our blog is the DualSense Podcast.wordpress.com, and find us and chat some PlayStation with us. Would love to hear from you. And we'll get out of here now. You guys take care. Have a great week. We'll talk at you next time. Bye bye.